Stop! What the hell are you doing? I yelled, slamming my foot on the brake so hard my truck lurched. My heart dropped as I stared at the place where my family's cemetery, 180 years old and sacred, used to be. Now, it was just a gaping hole, crawling with excavators and workers pouring concrete for what was OBVY, usly a swimming pool right over my ancestors' graves. I jumped out, phone already recording, my boots pounding the grass as I ran toward the chaos. 6 generations of my family, including my great-great-grandfather, a CIVYL war captain, were buried there. I could see bits of headstones and what looked like human bones spilling out of cardboard boxes tossed by a trailer like trash. My blood boiled. Then I saw him, Harold Grayson, the HOA president, strutting over with that smug grin I'd come to loathe. "Mr. Carter," he said, all fake politeness. The board voted to turn this eyesore into a community pool. Notices were posted per the bylaws. "That's a cemetery." I choked out, my voice shaking. "My family's cemetery." He didn't even blink. "Former cemetery," he corrected, cold as ice. Section 124 allows us to remove abandoned structures. My hands trembled, but I forced my voice steady. "You've just made the biggest mistake of your life, Harold." He laughed, while VYing me off. "Your little graveyard was tanking property values." What he didn't know was that I'd spent 3 years setting a trap for this exact moment. It all started when I inherited my grandma's old Victorian house, complete with the tiny cemetery in the corner of the lot. Barely 30 feet square, it was hallowed ground, holding graves from 1842, including Captain Thomas Carter, who fought for the Union. Growing up, I'd sit by those headstones, listening to stories about my ancestors' lives. That patch of earth meant everything to me. But the Pinewood HOA, they saw it as a problem. The letters came first. Non-conforming structure, unapproved landscaping, aesthetic violation. Every month, a new complaint. The wrought iron fence needed repainting. My flowers weren't approved varieties. The stone bench was an unauthorized installation. I'd stand up at HOA meetings explaining it's a cemetery. It's been here longer than your association. Harold would just smirk. "We get your sentimental attachment, Mr. Carter, but Pinewood has standards." 6 months in, Harold pulled me aside after a meeting. "Look," he said, voice low, "that creepy graveyard scaring off buyers. 3 deals on Oak Street fell through because of it." I crossed my arms. "Not my problem." His eyes narrowed. "Actually, it is. The board's exploring options." That was when I knew they wouldn't stop. I went home and dug out Grandma's journal. Her words hit hard. "The Carter family prepares for storms before the clouds gather." The next morning, I called Maria Alvarez, a lawyer who specialized in historical preservation. "They can't touch a historical cemetery," she said after reviewing my deeds. "But if they're this determined, we need to be ready." For 2 years, we built a fortress of protection. We filed papers with the State Historical Society, declaring the Carter family cemetery a protected landmark. I sent DNA proof tying me to the buried ancestors. Maria helped me install hidden cameras and ground sensors, disguised as landscaping to catch any tampering. We filed conservation easements and registered the site under the State Cemetery Preservation Act. "Should we tell the HOA it's protected?" I asked. Maria's eyes glinted. "No. If they're planning something shady, let's catch them red-handed." Meanwhile, the HOA turned up the heat. They doubled my dues, claiming administrative costs. They fined me for nonsense. My mailbox was half an inch too tall, my trash cans were out too long, my fence was ivory instead of antique white. I paid every fine without a peep, letting them think they were winning. The real break came when I got close to Lisa, the HOA secretary, who was bitter after Harold picked his buddy for a board spot over her. Over coffee, she dropped a bomb. "They're planning something big at tomorrow's closed meeting," she whispered. "Harold had me research how HOAs remove abandoned historical structures. He mentioned your cemetery." I frowned. "Abandoned? I maintain it every week." She slid me a folder. "He's resurveying the boundaries to claim it's on common ground, not your land. They'll vote tomorrow and move fast before you can react." I thanked her and called Maria. We finalized our plan. 2 weeks later, I left for a business trip, thinking we had time. I was wrong. When I got back and saw that hole where my family's grave should have been, I realized they'd gone further than I'd imagined. This wasn't just a violation, it was desecration. I made 3 calls: Maria, the State Historical Preservation Office, and the county sheriff. As I waited, neighbors gathered, some looking sick at the sight of those cardboard boxes. Harold's confidence started to crack. "You should have checked who owns this land," I said quietly. "And you really should have checked its legal status before digging up my ancestors." For the first time, he looked unsure. "The HOA has full authority," he blustered. "Not over a state and federally registered cemetery." I shot back as official cars rolled up. The next hour was chaos. State officials snapped photos of the mess. Maria arrived with a stack of documents. Sheriff Daniels looked grim, eyeing the boxes of remains. Harold's lawyer, a slick guy named Vincent, swooped in, claiming everything was legal. "The land's HOA property," he said, handing the sheriff a fake survey. "The cemetery was abandoned. Mr. Carter agreed to our authority when he bought the house." My stomach twisted. Had I missed something? Maria frowned at the survey, then spoke up. "HOA bylaws don't override state or federal law." Vincent smirked. "The courts will decide. For now, work continues." He nodded to the foreman. My heart raced as workers moved toward their machines. But Sheriff Daniels stepped in. "Nobody's touching anything. This is a crime scene." "Crime scene," Vincent sputtered. Daniels pointed at the boxes. "Desecration of human remains is a felony." Harold stammered about permits, but Maria pounced. "Your application called this and used green space with decorative stonework. No mention of graves." She pulled up a video from my hidden cameras, showing Harold telling the board to cover the headstones before a permit inspector arrived. "It's an old garden feature," he'd said. "Once we have the permit, we move while Carter's gone." Harold's face went white. "Where'd you get that?" Maria smiled. "The Carters installed security 2 years ago. Every meeting you plotted in was recorded." Vincent tried to call it illegal surveillance, but Maria shut him down. "It's legal on my client's property." Dr. Patel, the historical preservation officer, dropped another bomb. "This survey's fake. It contradicts county records." Sheriff Daniels turned to Harold and Vincent. "You're both coming to the station." As deputies arrived, Maria laid out our evidence on the sheriff's car hood. DNA linking me to the graves, state and federal registrations, conservation easements, trespassing logs, and emails where board members called the cemetery creepy and plotted to dodge the law. Neighbors gasped. Some board members slunk away from Harold. "We've got conspiracy to commit felonies," Maria said. "Desecration, fraud, destroying a landmark 14 violations." Daniels called for more officers. Harold and Vincent were cuffed. As they were led away, Harold hissed at me. "You set us up? You knew we'd do this." I stayed calm. "No, Harold. I just prepared for what you made clear you'd do. You should have done your homework." Dr. Patel promised the state team would restore the remains properly, with the HOA footing the bill. The county commissioner, horrified, vowed to shut down the board. Maria leaned in. "Our CIVYL suit names every board member. This is just the start." Lisa handed the sheriff more emails, confirming the HOA planned the dig while I was away to avoid resistance. A year later, I stood by the restored cemetery. The state team had worked miracles, reinterring every grave with care. A stone wall now encircled it, a bronze marker at the gate telling its history. Harold got 8 years for desecration and fraud. 3 board members got probation. The HOA was dissolved, its funds used to restore the site and set up a maintenance trust. Maria's lawsuit bankrupted the board members. The neighborhood's different now. Without the HOA's rules, folks actually talk, even starting a historical society to preserve our town's roots. Visitors read the marker, and I tell them about Captain Thomas, the suffragist Elizabeth Carter, and the everyday folks whose legacy lives on. Grandma's journal sits on my desk, open to her words. "Prepare for storms before the clouds gather." I did, Grandma. I did.